Hello and welcome to another IELTS essay correction. The purpose today is to discuss this question. This is a recent IELTS question. Some people think that air travel should grow without a limit, while others believe that government should limit it. Discuss both views and give your opinion. The student has sent me a handwritten response, and we're going to discuss a few important things. Firstly, some things can be better structured. There are a few sentences that can be used to express ideas more clearly. Let us come to this part. Some people opine that air travel should grow without a limit as it increases the country's economy. Now, what do you mean by increases the country's economy? A country's economy, to be more precise. However, the point here is that of increases. It doesn't make any sense. There is no proper meaning of what do you mean by increases the country's economy. The better way to structure is it makes a significant contribution to economic growth. This is a proper term, economic growth. And what is it doing? It is making a significant contribution, same as increasing. However, this is a better construction, conveys the idea clearly. Now let us come to this part. However, others believe that government should limit it because it causes air pollution at very high extent. And what do you mean by very high extent? That is again not as clear as or not as well structured as it causes serious air pollution or it causes heavy air pollution. So try using words that convey the idea more clearly that are used in English language generally. Now let us come to the body paragraph 1. Here I will prefer to first discuss it versus this. The student writes, there are numerous benefits of having a high number of flights. Firstly, people can easily commute to other countries, not only for business purposes, but also for holidays. There's a good parallelism over here. Not only X, but also Y, and the parallelism is perfect. It enhances economical growth. It's not economical growth, it should be economic growth. However, the point here is it versus this. It is a bit less specific in mentioning and emphasizing a point than this, though it can also refer to the entire clause or entire previous sentence. This is a better construction, a better word for referring to the previous sentence. So if you want to talk about the whole sentence and emphasize on that, the better construction is this enhances economic growth of the country. The point continues beyond this. If you look at sentence number 1, sentence number 2, and sentence number 3, there is a bit of lack of logical flow. So the sentence number 1 is people can easily commute to other countries for business purposes. And if you look at sentence number 3, it also helps in increasing employment. Read this carefully. You will realize that sentence number 1 should be followed by sentence number 3 and then finally sentence number 2. So here is the logical flow problem. It is more precise if you follow this pattern. Okay? Now the next idea is a bit lacking, but before that let me discuss the word increasing. Secondly, it also helps in increasing employment. Yeah, increasing is fine. A better word is generating employment. There are a few words that come together that help in creation of better sentences and better meaning of sentences. These are called collocations. With employment, usually it's generating. With legislation, it is enacting. Okay, so there are specific words that come together to convey the right meaning. The problem is that, okay, the idea is fine. The problem is in its explanation. This explanation is inadequate if you go through it. There are better ways to explain it. For example, this industry not only generates direct jobs such as those of pilots and crew members, but also employs people indirectly. So direct are explained within the same sentence. For indirectly, you write another sentence, and that improves. Okay, there is a great employment scenario in picture over here. So Employment is well explained. In this case, I'm sorry, not by the student. The student quickly did away with employment, didn't explain it in great detail, but should have. Now let us come to this body paragraph 2. Um, yeah. On the other hand is fine. There is another way of saying this, despite these benefits, because the previous paragraph was on benefits. It has many drawbacks. Now, this is a recommended practice. If you are beginning a new paragraph, it is important to name the subject again instead of using a pronoun. So prefer writing air travel or transportation again instead of writing a pronoun in the beginning of new paragraph. Air travel or transportation has many drawbacks. And then the student continues. The problem with this sentence is the wrong placement of such as. On the top, air transportation emits hazardous gases which are very harmful, or they are dangerous for the environment, such as. Now this such as is giving example of environment. Carbon dioxide is not environment. Hydrocarbons are not environment. They are gases. So the placement should have been over here. The sentence should have been air transportation emits hazardous gases such as carbon dioxide, hydrocarbons, which are very harmful for the environment. So there's a wrong placement of such as I have explained over here. Now this is an idea. What is expected is that this idea should be explained in the following sentences. So the student should have ideally explained the harmful effects of these gases on environment, but the student fails at that. There is no explanation of harmful effects on the environment. Rather, she prefers writing it on human beings. These gases interact with each other to emit black carbon, which is very dangerous for human beings. Again, should have explained harmful effect on environment, but she switched to humans without explaining what are the dangerous effects. For example, asthma, lung cancer, bronchitis. So these are some diseases which, if they are mentioned, they will explain this thing better. However, the student should have explained the harmful effects, and she never did that. So this idea lacks explanation. The problem persists later as well in the next point. Moreover, this is a good cohesive device to switch to the next point. Resources which are used in transportation are limited. A study shows about that during the last decade there was a degradation of natural resources, decline. Now, you have not mentioned the resources. You have not mentioned how they declined. What was the nature of decline? So if you had mentioned some of the resources and explained how the resources declined, perhaps there was some cutting down of forests to create airports, or some loss of wildlife to create airplanes and the airports. So mention those resources in order to explain the point clearly. The point is not at all explained. It is not specific. It is too general, too vague, too open to interpretation, which will not fetch bands. So here I have written a vague example. Coming to the conclusion, it is again not too clear. I've tried to give a sample conclusion over here. Just one important point, that again, yes, the student has mentioned its negative side. This is a new paragraph. Write the noun again. Just one point, this is a problem essay, so there are advantages and disadvantages. So there are some disadvantages, and since your viewpoint is that of disadvantages, you can propose a solution to create a conclusion, an effective conclusion. So as I've written over here, trains, buses, which are more environment friendly, since your main concern here is the environment friendliness, and you conform to this point. You agree with this point. So this was my take on this essay. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope it was useful.